So Dream just revived TommyInnit on the Dream SMP, shocking everyone. A lot of us expected Tommy to be revived at some point, but no one expected that he'd be back so fast. This crazy turn of events has many fans excited that their favorite character has returned, but what they don't realize is how the seemingly well-intentioned revival by Dream is filled with ulterior motives that could potentially destroy the Dream SMP. This is why TommyInnit was revived. If you enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers, and that would be an insane milestone to hit. TommyInnit's latest stream starts off with him talking to Wilbur in the afterlife, a void of nothingness and echoes. Their conversation seems normal at first. Well, as normal as it can get with two dead people talking to each other. But over time, Tommy grows increasingly frustrated with being dead. Wilbur, on the other hand, seems perfectly content with being dead, which in turn only frustrates Tommy even more. Suddenly, the darkness fades and Tommy is brought back to life. You're probably thinking, well, why is this a bad thing? If anything, Dream, who's the villain of the SMP, bringing back Tommy, who's seen as the hero of the Dream SMP, is a good thing, right? But that brings us back to the question of why Dream killed Tommy in the first place. In the stream, Dream says that he killed and revived Tommy to prove to him that he has the ability to revive people. But really, that's only half true. Dream didn't just kill Tommy out of anger because Tommy didn't believe him. No, that's just his excuse. He killed and revived Tommy to prove to himself that it was possible. After his powers are proven to work, Dream calls himself a god, saying he can bring back anyone from death. Immediately, Tommy repeatedly asks Dream to promise that he'll never, under any circumstance, bring back Wilbur. When Dream refuses to make any promises time and time again, and even outright says he'll revive and manipulate Wilbur into helping him escape the prison as payment for bringing him back to life, Tommy comes to the conclusion that Dream's too dangerous to be kept alive. Unfortunately, trapped in the prison with no way out at the moment, Tommy can't bring himself to kill Dream, meaning Dream can, and most likely will, revive Wilbur to help him escape. Dream knowing for sure that he can and will revive people is terrible for the Dream SMP, not because he'll escape from prison, but because of something far worse. But throughout their entire exchange, we never quite found out why reviving Wilbur would be such a disaster. I mean, yes, he's an egotistical hothead with mental problems, but that description fits Tommy and Dream pretty well too. No, there's something especially destructive about Wilbur that makes him, in Tommy's view, the highest threat to the server, higher than even his own arch nemesis Dream, and I believe that it has to do with the egg. Ever since December, the Crimson Egg has been growing throughout the Dream SMP and infecting people who came in contact with it. With the formation of the Eggpire, a whole group of infected people whose only goal is to execute the will of the egg, things have only gotten significantly worse. In his latest stream, Foolish Gamers recognized this and decided it was time to do something about it. After the egg begins to infect his Temple of Undying, he begins brainstorming a list of people who could help stop its spread. When he gets to Dream, he isn't sure how Dream feels about the egg, one way or another. Keep that in mind, cause we'll get back to that later. Interested in finding out more, Foolish makes a trip to the egg's lair to confront it. Unlike others, he doesn't seem drawn to the egg and might even be immune to its effects, although that remains to be seen. On his way back from visiting the egg, Foolish begins listing the names of species that have the power to control minds, to try and figure out who or what the egg really is.
A mere witch can't do that. Like what has the power to control minds? Witches, warlocks perhaps could maybe influence one. Demons, dreamins, even they I have seen have the power to maybe tinker with someone's mind, but not control and just twist so many at one time.
Notice something? It's not the species he listed, but it's the one he didn't. The dead. The dead often have weird, inexplicable powers on the Dream SMP. Take a look at Wilbur, who after he died, split into two versions of himself. One who remained in the physical world, and another who went to the afterlife. Speaking of Wilbur, could he be in control of, or at least linked to the egg? Maybe. The chaotic nature of the egg does reflect Wilbur's personality in some ways, but it seemed to me like too much of a stretch. At least it did, until I heard what Foolish said next.
Like I was saying earlier, all creatures are a little foolish one way or another. Like a shark. It thinks it rules the ocean, swims around, eating almost anything at once, but all it takes is one day a killer whale. Boom. Shark loses. It's gone. But then even still, that killer whale, little does it know that there's a mighty sailor with a harpoon ready to take it out. Killer whale dead. One harpoon to the heart. It's gone. No longer the alpha. And then even that sailor just might think that he rules the ocean, but the ocean laughs. The ocean laughs because all it takes is one flick of a wave, and that sailor's in the ocean. And that is what I'm trying to explain. Be careful when you think you're all high and mighty, because little do you know until it's too late that maybe there is something above you.
Now initially, Foolish was talking about the egg, but as he spoke more generally and vaguely, I couldn't help but think that this applied to Dream. After reviving Tommy, Dream literally called himself a god, and if that isn't being high and mighty, I don't know what is. When Tommy, who once considered himself to be Wilbur's best friend, told Dream that reviving Wilbur would be horrible, Dream completely ignored his concerns, foolishly believing that he could manipulate Wilbur just like he could anyone else. I believe that based on the dire warnings given by Tommy and Foolish, the only thing that would validate their concerns is if Wilbur, whether he's aware of it or not, is linked to the egg, and bringing him back would only make things worse on the Dream SMP. Sadly, even if Dream knew about the major risk he'd be taking by reviving Wilbur, he'd probably do it anyway. If there's anything that's consistent on the Dream SMP, it would be Dream's thirst for power, and as long as he could escape, he wouldn't lose sleep over bringing Wilbur back. As for the egg, although Dream's feelings about it are unclear, I don't think he would ever ally with the Eggpire and serve something other than himself. But that doesn't mean that Dream has any problems with the idea of someone having control over members of the Dream SMP. He just wants that someone to be himself, not some egg. When Dream eventually escapes the prison, he won't try to stop the spread of the bloodvines on the server. He would attempt to control them and use them to his own advantage. I predict that this will fail miserably, and just like Foolish said, Dream would be in over his head. If Dream hadn't killed and revived TommyInnit, none of the disastrous events I anticipated could have ever come to pass. Not only would they do great harm to other Dream SMP members, but they could ironically jeopardize Dream's chances of ever having power over the server again, which is why Dream killed and revived Tommy in the first place, if the egg succeeds in infecting everyone on the Dream SMP.